Today we have Mrs. Sandhya Khode, Director T&D IT with us today. May I now request Mrs. Sandhya Khode to come onto the dais. I request Sri Ramya to present the bouquet.
I now leave the forum open for discussions by our eminent personality here on how we can leverage on India's competitiveness in education.
Thank you. So, we are in this world and we are talking about globalization and leveraging competitiveness, etc. I just want to, step back. When I saw the excited and young students here, I was reminded of my own college days. And let me share with you my experience of going to college here. It was in JNU. At that time, the campus was in Masakheim. We had exactly one building that was called an engineering college. All of us went over there, sat in classrooms and everything. And there wasn't such a field called computer science. I graduated in PCE, and we did learn programming, and that was Fortran. And we said, we need to learn how to actually see whether this program works or not. So DRDO was very kind enough to say, why don't you make punch cards and come over there, and then we can run your program. So we actually went over there and then ran the program. And guess what? Threw out the deck of cards and said syntax error. Then we fixed some of the syntax errors, put the commas where they needed to be, or the semicolons and so on, and then gave it back. And then what? It ran and it gave us the expected output, and we all were very happy with this whole excursion of this little program that we wrote, and we said, okay, now we're done. And it's been some time, and I have been very fortunate in that I have seen and grown up with radios that were made up of vacuum tubes. Ever heard of them? Just raise your hands if you've heard of vacuum tubes. Huh, pretty good. Fair number. What about solid state devices? Ever heard that being spoken of? What about personal computers? More like it. What about internet? Still some hands are not coming up. What about Facebook? Yeah, that's more like it. So, all in the space of a few decades, we've gone through a lot of change in technology. Okay. Now, I want to spend a few minutes talking of a few ideas and then trying to ask the question, what is it that we have to be doing now? Because whatever it is that we're doing, it's not good enough. Okay? So let's look at what are the forces affecting the world today? What do our young people need? The demographic, as the young lady has pointed out, is a lot of youth there, right? So we have automation, and then we have globalization. A couple of things that I chose to talk about the forces that are relevant right now, right? And what do we see in automation? Things that a computer can do. This is what we call automation, right? And when we're talking about that, the whole idea is things that are simple, that you can put in a programmatic way, like a computer can operate. Ever heard of garbage in, garbage out? Yes? So, if you don't know how to do it yourself, there's no way you can tell the computer how to do it. It's that simple. So all the simple stuff like airline reservations, tickets, stuff like that get done by automation. Question is, can it do more? Right? And then this whole advent of so-called globalization, you know. In simple ways, what are we talking about globalization, right? The idea is that we have people that are anywhere in the world that are supposed to work together in teams and have actually work being done, productive work being done. Whereas we have difficulty getting 4 people in a room to work together. So the demands are really a lot. Also, let's look briefly at what are the shifting of jobs. You know, we need more people to be thinking and doing than just assembly line working. And that's the broad thing that's going on. Okay? Now, I've worked more than 25 years in the industry, both in the US and here. And we work a lot with thinking jobs. Now, computers have been around for a long time, but have we gotten the best advantage of them yet? I don't think so. There is a lot to be done in that space. So, non-routine manual labor also cannot be automated, which is why we have things like driving a truck. You know, I actually was fortunate in that when I was 7 years old, you know, my dad used to teach me MCME, and he was the one that says it was a remote controlled Jeep that was being designed and operated, and nobody wanted to be the volunteer to ride in it, because God knows what's going to happen to the Jeep, right? It's being remote controlled. But then I was too young. So I said, oh, I want to ride in it. So I jumped on it, and then I got to ride on it. But, you know, that was just in a ground, so that was fine. Now guess how that might work if we let such a truck loose in the streets of Hyderabad, right? It's going to be really tough, because now it has to have eyes, ears, and everything else. In the rest of the world, like in the US, you don't use the honk. You don't horn, right? You don't honk. Here, it's the way of driving. You have to let people know you're coming, so you honk. Over there, if you honk, it's considered rude. So, things are different. And what are we talking about? Non-routine thinking work, expert thinking, complex communication. Let me just cite an example. Here I was working in Apollo Hewlett-Packard. This was one of my careers. And we were building a DN10000, which is a large platform. And there are a lot of people that are forming part of the team. Guess what might be the composition of the team, right? You would expect an architect. Yes. Some diagnostics people, some operating system people. Any others? Any other guesses? What else? Who else would be on the team? To build a whole computer system, right? Good morning. Any guesses? Well, let me tell you that it also included somebody whom we call a tech writer, and that person is an engineer. And they're actually working on building the help for the system And from day one, the team is designed including that person. So it's not that they come after the thing is built and then they try to figure out how to write the help for it. So it's very interesting, the dynamics of that. Imagine the kind of complex communication that needs to take place, right? So I was supposed to build a diagnostic system. So I need to go and interview with people, talk to them and find out what it's all about. And through the process of getting all this information is when we can actually build it. My boss said, don't worry about talking to all these people. Just take the spec, I'm giving it to you and you build it. I said, okay, let me write down what it is. But then I told myself, I have to go talk to them, at least run it by them and see whether it will work. So I went and started talking to them in the evenings because in the daytime, my boss was expecting me to do all this work. And when I went to talk to them, they said, no, this is not at all going to satisfy our requirement. Hell no. What are you thinking about? So, by the time I had conversations with 10 people, everything changed. Now, I have to keep track of all this. Now, let me ask you, what experience do you get talking to people about requirements right here sitting in college? This, my dear friends, is what's called requirements gathering. It's a very complex job, right? So the whole idea is that there are implications on our education system. So if you think you're going to all, be good marketing experts or finance experts and then get your MBA and do some hotshot job and prepare with whatever it is that you have today, you have another guest coming. Because if you are not prepared to change with the times, can the education system prepare you for your last job, not your first job? Because in my education system, I learned about vacuum tubes. Nobody talked to me about PCs because they didn't exist. But then, as I was working, I had to keep learning. Because if I did not keep learning, it would be like I'm over here and the bus is just gone. I have to keep running to stay where I am, and if I have to progress, I have to run faster. So this is what it is. So welcome to the real world. So if you think all learning and studying for exams may stop after you finish your degree, but if you don't continue to learn, you're not ready for the next job or the next or your last job. Okay? This is all to do with higher thinking. Most of the exam is talking about whatever you got lectured on, you get questioned on. Is that what you write in your exams? Or is there something else that is you're being asked? Anyone? Did somebody tell you that you should not ask questions and that you should sit very quietly and not make noise? Because if they did, I break the rules. You can make noise, you can talk, you can